me voy a enfiestar. Fugas por las chulas que están bien duras con las botellitas y las morenitas con sus cinturitas y las pacas verdes les he de tirar. Nos vamos de ruta en el Racer Son con unas troconas, somos un clicón, puras marcas finas, LV la bolsa y Gucci el cinturón. Y así suena Ramiro LR. Carros deportivos listos pa'l peligro, con unas chelitas y un cigarrito, la mielecita que esté quemadita pa' ponerme high. No somos de pleitos para que lo sepan, pero si le buscan pues aquí la encuentran con unos corridos y el bote bien listo me voy a enfiestar. Fuga por las chulas que están bien duras con las botellitas y las morenitas con sus cinturitas y las pacas verdes les he de tirar. Nos vamos de ruta en el Racer Son con unas troconas, somos un clicón, puras marcas finas, LV la bolsa y Gucci el cinturón.
I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching. Don't really care if my rhythm's off, 'cause I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching.
Aggression, the pace. Oh, Molly! Oh, my God! Building upon it. This big hit relies on. Oh! And he nailed them both. More for a twist. Oh my God!
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, Get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks. Same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
Smiles all round to start the season if you're part of the Bunga Racing team. 40 points in the back pocket to get things kicked off, and to say that you're on top is always a big smile. But we're just one round here into your GamingMalta Ultimate Masters, but there are still 9 rounds worth of racing, and we head ourselves over to the Piazza Ayrton Senna for what is the Autodromo Nazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari for the second round of the championship. I'm Jake Sperry. That is James Otter alongside me. So this is going to be a very, very important round of racing. So the question now, James, here into this round 2 is going to be the teams that have put themselves up on top. They have the happiness to say, you know what, we're happy with what we've got. It's up for those teams who are 6th on down to say, we've got to make something happen.
Precedent setter tonight, I think. We've got the Imola Grand Prix, the Autodromo, is one of those races where you've really got to power through the circuit and find the pace, find the most of the car, but the racing is quite tight round here. You can't overtake very easily round here, and this is, as I said, a precedent setter. You've got to make sure that you are on top from the get-go here, and I think if BRT have got anything to show from last week, they're going to want to power from the top, but it's so impeccably close. The top 2 separated by less than a 10th of a second. Shazoo will be all over them with Cameron Dowds. Azim as well, making it into the top 3 for ET8. Of course, they will be wanted to maintain their lead in the championship, but fair play to EVE. Didn't know they were going to be racing in this competition, with a cracking 4th place from Kevin.
Yeah, they'd certainly take that in terms of their result. You can see there the fastest lap by Harrison was set on a 104.433. The pole time was by George Ansell on a 103 flat. So it was really aggressive racing here in the GamingMalta Ultimate Masters out the Red Bull Ring 1 week ago in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercom, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy and JCap. But it was one of those where you say, right, that's a high-speed overtaking track. Let's give them something slightly different. A circuit which has all of the elevation change to the point, James, where this track held the UCI Cycling World Championships in 2020. It is also going to be the final spot of the Women's Giro d'Italia this year. This is going to be a track which has a little bit of something everywhere, and I think each and every single corner has its own unique challenge.
Yeah, FIA Grade 1 circuit for a reason, because it deserves to be on the spot across multiple calendars in the motorsport world. But for me, my favourite set of corners in the calendar through turn 11, 12 and 13, Acqua Minerale. This poses the challenges of not just being a front-end circuit, the rear end is going to be stepping out, especially when you're going off camber. Turn 11, 12 and 13, my favourite for that exact reason. And of course, Variante Alta, get that wrong, and you're going to be seeing multiple people getting those time penalties.
You certainly will. The newly named Curva Grassini corners out on circuit. This is how your standings look, though. Bunga Racing teams, we said at the top of the show, 40 points to the good. But That's only for the moment. Team Shazoo, very happy with their results. They find themselves 4 points adrift with TF10 in third and your reigning champions ET8 in fourth position, 10 points back. It's then Project Aversio who find themselves in fifth ahead of the Future Racing team in sixth. They're a little ways back with Cedars Phoenix Ignators, the Season 2 champions, there in seventh. Top Tier Motorsports in eighth, NLR Esports in ninth, and not a good showing for Optimum Velocity Racing, just the 2 points from the season opener. How do the drivers running in the Ferraris look to try and change their fortune?
Yeah, they've really got to power on from what was effectively a very poor race in Austria, to be fair. They never really showed the pace at all. I think at one point they managed to potentially sneak into the top 10, but during the pit stop ceremony, effectively, of drivers getting their tyres on, it just really didn't show the pace out there. So is the question's going to be, are they going to be up for the challenge of a circuit that is of much more higher difficulty? Let's be honest, it's in Imola, San Marino, to the old school F1 fans, it's going to be one of high trickiness, but OVR will be hoping that Thomas and Jerem can show the pace around here tonight. But BRT Joe Murphy, big fan of him in the esports sphere. He's going to be looking to show his pace for BRT in this championship.
Now, here's what I find really interesting, James, about these lineups. We expect to see lineup changes they go through. Just 5 drivers who took the start at the Red Bull Ring will take the start tonight here at San Marino here in Imola. So that's a 75% cull rate that they've gone through. And only one team has opted to keep their driver lineup exactly the same, and that is Team Shazoo.
Yeah, Team Shazoo are a little bit down at the moment as regards of who they really could field, so that perhaps we're going to see Gabba come out of his shell a little bit. Didn't really have the pace in Austria, so a completely different circuit in Imola may offer him a completely different challenge. Cameron's dad in the chat, his father will be very happy to see him back on the field again here tonight as well, and always a big fan of FRT Dan, actually. He is a driver really in form at the moment and could bring Future Racing Team some big points tonight. NLR Ryan, also a driver never ever to discredit.
No, absolutely not. And of course, you've got the likes there of Rayan Bakar, who's in there for TTM, who's been looking for a good run, and the Future Racing team running with Dan and Chelsea here today, hoping they will both get a good run. Paul remains at ET8, but Casper Flack will jump in for them and join in. And the same can be said for George Ansell remaining, but Tails will jump in TF10 colours. So we'll see how that all plays with Jorginho and also Jeslar there at CPI. So there's a lot for them to try and get themselves around and established with this circuit, but they would have had this one pinpointed at round 2 of the championship. So let's take a little look around this circuit and what makes it such an incredible challenge. Of course, we always talk about a dark day in May in 1994 with the resting place of both Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, but in terms of a long, hot lap, this is one of the few anti-clockwise circuits out there on the circuit, so they pivot all the way over to the left. Those chicanes brought in at Tamburello and Villeneuve after the 2 accidents mentioned. The very tight and tricky Tosa hairpin's going to be important, but so too will be the downhill braking zone at turn 17 at Ravazza Corner.
Yeah, heading through Ravazza is obviously going to be where the majority, I would expect, of the mistakes to occur on that first lap, because I think it's such a deep braking zone. But they're going to go around Tosa, through into the top then of turn 8 into Piratella. Piratella is where I think we may see a few people get some penalties tonight as well, because that track extension is so prominent. You can see right on the limit as well is Spicer, as he then heads through my favourite set of corners, Aqua Minerale. The car just flicking around on the curbs and able to just power the way through to the recently renamed Variante Alta through 14 and 15.
Yeah, and then out of the curve of Grassini, they will now look to make the charge there, will Spicer, down the hill. Never, ever truly straight around this circuit. It's always challenging you, lefts, rights. You can't ever switch off through the first Ravazza and then attack out of the second Ravazza. There used to be a Variante Bassa through this section. They took it out to create this long front stretch where you can make that attack, and that was a lap around then over at Imola. So that just gives you that little bit of understanding of what makes this track such a difficult showcase. So we are going to be getting ourselves a whole lot to go on through. We are going to step aside for just one moment here when it comes to Velocity Esports Racing and your Gaming Malta Ultimate Masters, because just on the other side of this commercial break, we are going to be dropping down into qualifying, and this at a circuit circuit where you could say qualifying, maybe one of the more important ones this season. Who is going to stand on top?
The pace. Oh, Molly! Oh, my God! Building upon it. This B hit relies on. Oh! And he nails them both. More from Twist. Oh my God!
Qualifying, just 18 minutes to set a time, and those are some wet weather tyres out there in blue, which is interesting to see there for Chelsea going out there and putting times in on the board. So that, I would say, would be the ultimate banker lap time, because you can't get any slower than a tyre like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the part of the circuit now, part of the qualifying session where the drivers are just getting out there, burning some rubber and putting some rubber on the circuit, more or less, actually, so they can get the best lap times possible. So the drivers are not willing to burn through their soft tyres at the moment. They know that they could potentially get 4 or 5 laps in, so why not use a set of intermediates or wets just to layer the circuit with plenty of rubber? But Chelsea not doing the best of that one, as all the rubber's now off of the circuit at Acqua Minerale.
Yep, and so with all that rubber not on track and 3 drivers who currently are not technically in session, so you've got Manley, you've got Rayan Bakar and NLR Tom, they're going to be drivers who need a little bit of help. On board with Gabo Shintos then, up the top of the hill, and so we'll see what Gabo Shintos can do. Down the hill off of Piratella, that plateaued corner, and then into Acqua Minerale here. Challenges you as you've got a trail break through the corner, attack off of the exit, but you can see the red there on the mini-map, and that will tell you that a lap time has been invalidated, and we've seen it time and again. It looks like both of the Shazoo drivers have invalidated their first qualifying laps, and it is an important qualifying here today. So if you can't get your first lap time down, you're going to be in a world of trouble as Chelsea retires the car from the session. So make that 4 drivers then who will look like not set a representative flying lap.
Yeah, they are unfortunately facing qualifying bans. It's only round 1 of this, round 2 rather of this season, and we're already seeing drivers, unfortunately, serving qualifying bans, and that's the reason why Chelsea, I think, went out on a set of wets. So he alongside Manley, Rayan, and Tom, all facing no qualifying, and they'll be starting at the back of the circuit that you really could do with qualifying well at.
Yep, Jeslar then with the fastest time, but that is eclipsed by ET8 Paul on a 1:13.1 out there as we are on board with him coming across the line in the Alpine. So we'll be very happy with that. And just so those who have been following the series, they're not going to change their manufacturers. ET8 are in Alpines all season long. And of course, Project Verso will find themselves in the Mercedes all day long. And they will find themselves 3rd and 4th currently on 13.5s and 13.6s. Now, will expect that disparity to be a little bit more than what we saw at Austria, because you've got a wide range of different corners. And of course, trying to set up with with higher downforce means that you are going to find that certain corners you are going to have to specifically try and work for. Do you want to work for the higher speed corners, or are you there trying to get the likes of Aqua Minerale correct down on the brakes, Toza and the Ravatsas? It's very much a case of, do you want to prioritize the low speed corners or the medium speed ones?
Yeah, critical actually, because it's all dependent really. The circuit, you can't really find a happy balance for. The moment you start trying to balance for both of the scenarios, you end up in a position where the car is just so unbalanced everywhere else. So at this point, you've really got to consider your priorities. Do you go for the higher front wing and prioritize corners like these here at the front of the Variante Alta, or do you consider going for the low downforce setup and hope that these set of corners right at the end of the circuit, heading through the Ravatsas, are going to be the priority? Because of course, then you have the power all the way down towards turn 19 and turn 1, of course, where you start your lap. We've been mugged off completely by Nassim, though. 13.566 is his initial lap time, but plenty of lap time to find out there, one suspects.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot in the back pocket from some drivers who will be looking to find it. There is Jay Murphy, who is out there on a lap at the moment. An outlap it will be, with the red marks all around, trying to say, let's get this sorted, leaving a lot of smoke there. Lockyer, the inside front, looking to try and get that launch in the Kick Sauber forward to try and help his Bunga teammate, who is in 5th position currently. A lot of drivers on outlaps, and just the 5 drivers so far who have been able to set a representative flying lap time. But into Tamburello then, absolutely kicking the car in with massive amounts of turn, and Jay Murphy will be certainly someone who's hoping to maximize each and every sector as he rallies his way through turns 4 and 5 there. The Villeneuve chicane, a 23.6 opening sector, climbing the hill.
Yeah, I'm expecting here we're going to be heading into the 13.0s, possibly the 12.9s at the moment here, where Joe Murphy has been on fire this season. Has Joe Murphy has been one of the leaders of the BRT team, so he's always going to be really happy as he powers the car through Aqua Minerale. A bit more conservative off of the curbs here, maybe going for a lower downforce setup, a higher downforce setup rather than having the car low down to get the best of the straights, but really powering it through the Altas, then heading into Rivazza. It's going to be a critical set of corners here, because you expect people are going to want to line up for that overtake, really pushing at the limit. The rear not too happy towards the end of that one, but very well planted through turn 18 as he comes across the line. I'm expecting a 12.9. Oh, he's lost time though. 13.2 in the final corner was the Variante Alta. The conservative approach of the Variante Alta and Aqua Minerale, the Costa for him. Cameron Downs, 13.2.
I think the big one there was Curva Grassini, of course, the former Variante Alta. He had to wait to stamp the power down and get the car settled, and I think that's where the time certainly bled away in terms of the lap. Casper Flack moves up then into 5th position and will be happy with that. And George Ansell, who was your pole sitter last time out, is hoping to make it 2 out of 2. 5th fastest there on a 13.3, but 0.2 of a second adrift off of the pole time at the moment set by ET8 Paul. So we'll definitely be happy with that. Ryan getting the McLaren sorted for Never Last Racing. Well, Tom at the moment technically is at the moment, so there's not much they can do about that, but flicking it through the right there at the variant of the Aqua Minerale, and now in towards the Curva Grassini. You're now starting to get the sense of who's trying to work out what to try and be aggressive, and that was a lovely line by Ryan, making his charge forward.
Yeah, not too bad here from NLR's Ryan. Then, of course, the driver never ever to discredit in the McLaren, chucking the car through the final couple of Ravatsas of 17 and 18. Power as early as you dare as Gabba goes fastest. There's the expectation for him, but NLR's Ryan 13.3, another one within the 13.3s. I think the track, though, is definitely going to rubber in.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They want a track that's going to be hot like it is at the moment, but also has a lot of rubber on that circuit. All these cars, and they'll be down 4, so it'll be 16 cars that'll be looking to put their tyres basically to the track, and it will generate a bit more grip on the circuit. So a track definitely cures up and goes away, as Paul did not like the fact that Gabo Santos took his time away and decided, you know what? I'm going to take it back, and do so on a 13 flat, moving himself 800ths clear at the top of the board. So definitely a sense of happiness. There's Trisk, who's going to move into 10th position on a 13-4, and it shows you something. Half a second for the top 12, and there is the invalidation after the time was set. So Trisk is now going to have to find a way back to the pits, but we're seeing a little bit of good work here from the likes there of Optimum Velocity. It was nice to see Tomas there in 10th position as we go back to Paul here, running himself down through the middle sector, and this, to my mind, is probably an in-lap.
Yeah, probably is. Well, it's definitely an in-lap now as he's just invalidated at Aqua Minerale, another corner that we're expecting big issues from. Yeah, 1.2 seconds down, so definitely in his in-lap is the number 98 Alpine. We'll keep an eye out, see other people. Tomas, he's on an in-lap as well in the Ferrari, so I think this is probably the end of this particular set of laps. Joe Murphy, Cameron Dowds wanted to get out early for their next set of laps as well. No surprises that Paul's at the front though, because he'd shown the pace all the way through Austria, if you remember, in that battle with George Ansel. Could not get that move done down the inside of turn 3 repeatedly. It will not want to replicate that scenario, that's for certain. Keeping an eye on Triske, he surely should be coming in as well. So it is all going to be about those that are on the outlaps at the moment. I think it's Joe Murphy leading the way at the moment.
Well, just 8 minutes remaining here in qualifying. It's just a 73-second lap around here. That's how quick they are pacing around this circuit. So they are able to get quite a few runs out there, 3 or 4, so to speak. So they've certainly got a lot. 2 drivers yet to set a time who can, and that would be Tails at TF10, and then Jorginho, who is out there, of course, in the Williams cars, which will be Cedars Phoenix Ignators, the Season 2 champions, who are 7th in the championship currently. So they've certainly got a bit of work to do, but Joe Murphy then getting the DRS wide open and needing about 0.2 of a second to take pole position. So this will be an important lap to try and put down on the boards. And he is rallying again through the opening sector, really attacking the anti-cut curbs, and a lot of drivers choose not to, but he's not afraid of them. He's quite happy with the balance set in the car, that even those anti-cut curbs aren't going to upset him, and he's up by 300ths in the opening sector.
Yeah, raised ride high, I think, then for Joe Murphy, if he's happy to take the corners as aggressively as he is. That Tamburello, so aggressive. He's so aggressive as well, going through Piratelli. Now we're heading to Aqua Minerale, again, chucking the car through the right-hander, easy to lose the rear. Not so much though for Joe Murphy, feeling a lot more comfortable. Second sector split coming up now, and he's only 700ths up, but that first sector could carry him to defeating Paul on this particular occasion. Let's see what his next set of corners at Ravaz is like.
Well, he was purple in Sector 1, he was purple in Sector 2. Is he going to get the full kit and caboodle heading over towards the line? We'll see what this is going to be in terms of lap times with the top 2 currently out there. No! So it's going to be a 13.125. It's enough to move to the front row, but just that, the front row. Cameron Dowd up in 4th position now, dropping Jeslar down into 5th position and looking to attack. This is a qualifying right now that Shazoo will be grinning from ear to ear with, as Jeslar breaks the 13s and takes pole for the moment for the Cedars Phoenix Ignators.
Yeah, CPI would be happy with that one. Jeslar's in form at the moment as well in the eSports sphere, so this doesn't surprise me at all. Here comes George Ansel, pole sitter last week in Austria. Want to try and replicate this performance. Will it be up towards the front? Well, he's on the second row.
Well, his 3rd position, he's only 5,000ths off of ET8 Paul, so give him that. That was another good effort from George Ansel. Dan has moved up to 4th, which drops Jay Murphy back into 5th position. Only at the moment, Cameron Dowds we focused on for a moment, and Gabor Santos, who is there hoping to try and really get a good time in on the boards, knowing that they've now got to find some improvements because the field has certainly lit up with 6 and 5 minutes to go. And with 5 minutes, here comes the Haas over towards the line. Nice. Gabor smashes pole, and he gets a full 10th on top of that.
Yeah, nice. Here come the lap times now, with the rubber now really bedding into the circuit. We're expecting these lap times to come tumbling. We've already beaten Spizer's hot lap time of a 12.9 earlier on, so with 4 minutes to go, we should be starting to see those lap times crumble. Maybe we see a 12.7, I wonder.
Well, we could see a 12.7. It's definitely possible, but I think that 12.8 from Gabor is a sight of things to come out there with those times. Paul, he got close. He got 6,000ths close there to that, as we're on board with Triska here right now, and Trisk making the run, as well as Tails over towards the Ravatsas here. And Tails, I think, is going to be a very interesting drive to keep in mind here in the Red Bull. In 11th at the moment for TF10. His teammate currently in 4th position and will just dive into the pits. So we got a lot of different change. And I think the interesting thing with the qualifying bands out there is that it's both the Aston Martin, so top tier, have to get it done from the back.
Yeah, not an easy circuit to do it from the back as well, so they're in a bit of a critical step, to be perfectly candid with you. Tales as well, P11, he's a driver who is lacking a bit of consistency, I think is the best way to put it at the moment. He ends up finding him to be towards the front, and then occasionally he ends up getting himself stuck in the midfield and ends up in a crash. So if Tales ends up in the middle ground within 10th, 11th, 12th place this at the end of this qualifying session, eat my heart, I think he might be involved in an incident or two tonight.
Well, Tales will certainly not want to be involved in an incident at all, but with the field like this, it's going to be very much a case of trying to find some space. Here is Nassim making that run to Toza, one of the most underrated corners out there on the circuit. It's an uphill exit from a very flat hairpin, which means it's so easy to spin up the tyres and go pirouetting over to the left-hand side. Definitely having to commit twice there in towards Piratelli. You could see that unnatural jink into the corner, which was going to be always something to keep in mind, and that's an invalidation. Nassim, I think, was pushing a little too hard.
Yeah, no surprises again. This is where we're going to start to see maybe some penalties sort of applied within the race if the track limits are this much of a significant issue. Of course, the drivers are on low fuel and are on that absolute limit. We might not see much of that towards the start of this race, but if people are going to be holding on to that limit, I think we're going to start to see people crossing it, unfortunately. Keeping an eye on Joe Murphy, then a man who I would have been, put my money on potentially being on pole at the moment, but he's not finding comfort in the second sector. His first sector split is blistering. He's beating Gabba at the moment, but his second sector just not quite there at the moment. And I think that's perhaps because on the last occasion he'd lost quite a bit of time going through Tosa, so maybe a bit more time to find for the BRT man, as does this man as well, Finn Bob, right at the back.
Yeah, 113.7. He's 9/10 of a second adrift at the moment, which in this league is a light year. So he'll have a lot of work to do to try and pull his time back. And we saw how 1 week ago that it was, of course, the Bunga Racing team who had themselves one driver near the front, one driver at the back. And that allowed for one drive to really go out there and attack. And it looks like they might be in the same position right now as Nassim goes again.
Yeah, he's chucking the car actually through there. Oh, big tank slapper! And he's lost it, unfortunately. Yeah, tank slapper going through Tosa, lost the rear, and that was it for him.
Yeah, and there's a 10th as they all look to try and find. So Jay Murphy, we go on board with, really trying to rag the car in, letting the car naturally understeer out through the turn-in entry there to Toza. He's really trying to get as much as he can out of it. Up the hill at the plateau at Piratella, really trying to hope that he can hang on to each and every single corner as if everything depends on it, and it does. Look how early he turned in at Aqua Minerale. He is throwing this car about with reckless abandon here as Jay Murphy through the middle sector and hoping that his time is found. With 50 seconds to go, he is praying.
Yeah, he's hoping that this man in front doesn't get in the way. I don't think it's going to be causing too much of an issue as it goes through the Ravatsas now. He's been really pushing this car, I would argue, possibly overdriving the car a little bit because he knows he's actually quite a ways off the pace at the moment. It might get into the 12.9s. We'll see though as he comes across the line. Oh, he has not managed to do it. 13.0 for him. Gets him on the second row, but there's plenty of drivers going fast out there at the moment.
Yeah, Joe Murphy can't quite get what he wants. 4th position, that will be that. So he's going to be a little bit bogged down. Gabor at the moment on top by not by much. There is Jeslar. Nassim will retire the car. That is an off track there for Jeslar. He will not be able to improve any more than that. And that's a big shame for him because out will come the checkered flag here in qualifying. And now it's about who's got what. Tales will remain in 12th position. Finbob can't improve. He's down there in the pits. We've got one car skirting through the gravel. That's Chirino, who's moved up to 4th position, has dropped down. Joe Murphy there into 5th position. George Ansell, who's down by just a 10.5 here, is going to need something. Cameron Dowd's only 8. FRT down in 7th. Up the hill now, looking to the curve of Grassini, your pole sitter from a week ago, really looking to try and get as early on the power through on that 3rd gear, up through them. 6th, now into 7th, looking around. Does he need an 8th gear or does he keep the cadence high in 7th? He doesn't want the engine braking, so down to 4th. Gabor crosses the line and doesn't improve, so ET8 Paul with a massive chance here. He won't improve. What about George Ansel as he comes to the line? 3rd row only. He can only manage 5th position out there, which leaves now just Casper Flack, Ryan and Tomasz, and that is a big slide there from Casper Flack, so he's not going to improve. So what about NLR Ryan? Can he jump himself up into the top half of the field as he goes through? No chance for Tomasz, he's in the pits, and Triska as well is there. I think that's pretty much going to call that. Gabor Santos on the pole position. Look at that.
Yeah, great bounce back then from Gabor in the end. He couldn't have a good race in Austria. He's going to have a cracking race in Imola with a pole position. But Paul, once again, showing his pace and showing the comfort that they're going to get with him, with ET8 with him, because there's clearly some consistency coming from him. But fair play to the Cedar Phoenix Ignators. 3rd and 4th, they share the 2nd row.
They'll certainly take that, and they'll take that in a heartbeat after being down 20 points on the start of this season. This is a really good qualifying by them. ET8 keeping themselves up there. 2nd and 9th certainly have a good run, and 1st and 8th there for Team Shazoo. They're proving they are going to have another good run out there to try and put themselves together. A qualifying where the top 8 were split by under 0.3 of a second, and a little gap over to Casper Flack in 9th position might just be an indicator of where the pace in the field is. It's through the top 8, it seems, at the moment. But this is all about roster and who can keep their roster happy and who can put the best results together. And I think that, James, is all important. The teams who are up there, who are up near the top, are those who haven't necessarily made all the changes in the world.
No, a little bit of a switchback, to be fair, as well, with the Cedar Phoenix Ignators down in 7th, as you mentioned. Only 20 points to their name at the moment with 3rd and 4th. That's exactly what they're going to be looking for. ET8, of course, a team that you would have expected to be towards the front. Paul was at the front, but ET8 didn't have the pace versus the likes of TF10 Shazoo and the Bunga Racing team last week. So they'll be encouraged with Paul up there. But once again, Team Shazoo just showing that they have got what it takes to be towards the front again. But critically, the Scotsman himself, the Flying Scotsman, Cameron Dowd's not up there with his teammate. He's going to have to race towards the front.
He certainly is, and he's going to have a lot of work to do. I would say at this point, it's a good time to look at that calendar, because this is where you're starting to really get an understanding of what this season is about. Of course, they had the qualifying event at Qatar. They've gone through Austria. We're here at San Marino. It will be a short drive over to the outskirts of Milan in what is the Autodromo Nazionale Monza in Italy for 1 week's time. But then you've got Belgium and then Silverstone that follows. 3 of the classic circuits, which all of these drivers will look at and say, these are the ones that we need to get correct, because if you can't get the classics correct, then all the contemporaries become even more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely right. You've got to make sure that you make yourself a piece of history on the most historical circuits. Of course, San Marino, Italy and Belgium can't get more historical than that before you take a trip over to Silverstone. So going to be keeping a firm eye on the drivers, especially at Italy. Again, another completely different circuit, very low downforce, low drag, and it's all about making sure that you get the fastest speed possible going into turn 1. And of course, Belgium, once again, it's the exempt circuit, if you will, doesn't actually meet the FIA's criteria for a circuit in Formula 1, but because of its length, but gets a little special exemption because, of course, of the historical prevalence. But it's all about tonight here in San Marino, and at the moment, advantage Team Shazoo.
I will say with that Belgian track, its length is only 4 meters over the top, so I wouldn't say it's egregious or anything like that. But what we will say is that this is a very important championship to keep in mind for these teams. They're all looking to run with the team, so let's talk about their point structure. There's no individual championship. They're having to score for their teams today, and there are 30 points on offer if you can find yourself a race victory. A maximum of 57 points is there for the teams. They can manage it. Just the 40 scored by your championship leaders 1 week ago, the Bunga Racing team. So 30 points, then 25, and then 22. Then it's 2-point increment down to 8th place, which is 12, and then 1 point down to 19th. No points for being last, but you do get one for pole and fastest lap.
Yeah, critical that as well, because of course it gives everyone the incentive to actually finish the race as well. We've seen a few people choosing to retire from the race in Austria because, of course, it was quite a messy one, especially for the likes of the Ultimate Velocity Racing team. I think who were the first person to retire in the pit lane. But it does give people the incentive to go out there and take as many points as they can, because every point will matter in a championship with everyone so tightly compacted.
Yeah, it is very tightly compacted, and let's talk prizes just for a moment, because they are racing for money. They are looking for opportunity. So top of the standing, 700 euros on the line, 500 for second and 400 there for third position. It goes all the way down, so 280 euros there. Sorry, there for fourth position. I said dollars. With 150 euros there in fifth, and then 100 euros in sixth. 80, 60, 30. You don't get anything in this league for being down at the bottom, where Optimum Velocity Racing house themselves. So they got 7 points to try and charge on forward here, James, in order to make a little bit of moolah.
Yeah, plenty of racing still available to their at this disposal to not be in that dreaded place of 10th. But of course, you get your money back if you're in 9th. So it's all about making sure that the drivers go out with the best they can. And that's the reason why we offer everything up to 19th place for a point. As I said, every point matters.
It certainly does, and we'll be seeing, of course, right at the pointy end how important those positions are, because the difference between third and fourth, between TF10 and ETA, is just 1 championship point as things stand, and we will be seeing that chop and change over the course of the season. Who will walk into the best position and who maybe necessarily will not. Those are your standings, just to give you a bit of comparison out there. So we're really talking about this, saying, okay, it's a close start to the season. I'd say anywhere within 5 points is a very close start. Team Shazoo will be very happy with what they've done off of the start of this. But you're looking around and you're saying, well, you don't really want to be behind by double, at least at the early start. So for Cedars, they've got work to do. They've done that brilliantly in qualifying. Top tier won't be happy, NLR won't be happy, and Optimum won't be happy. And those teams will be thinking, right, how do we launch up further forward in the field?
Yeah, big fan of the Project Aversio as well, the home team of this particular tournament, the GamingMalta Ultimate Masters, the Maltese team. Didn't even think that they had a spot, as I said, at the beginning of this season, and they've actually got onto the left side of the board. So they'll be extremely happy with their performance in this championship with just the 1 round gone. But can they continue to replicate that one going into Imola? Their qualifying didn't show that they had the pace versus Austria, but they might just be able to sneak a position or two if they keep it clean.
Yeah, we'll certainly be hoping to try and get with what we have got going forward. They are going to be hoping that they can launch themselves up the points. We're going to step aside for just one moment here with the GamingMalta Ultimate Masters. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of strategy just before our race, which will be coming up on the other side of this.
The pace. Oh, Molly! Oh, my God!
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
Should be in for an absolute cracker, I think, for this one. I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got coming up across this Grand Prix. The challenge of this particular Grand Prix circuit is always going to end up bringing some seriously intense events ahead of us. And I think just going into turn one, going through the sequence of circuits, the sequence of Tamburello, through Villeneuve and through Tosa, especially with everyone so tightly compacted, I'm expecting that there's going to be a bit of drama around there as well. Will there be a safety car, I wonder?
That's going to be important. It does help when you decide that you want to unmute your microphone. I think that will certainly be very, very nice and certainly try to help you. But at least what I was trying to say earlier, James, is that this is going to be an all-important season where these drivers are looking to try and attack to the best that they possibly can and say, you know what, this is going to be a tough season all around. So when you sit and look and watch and go, you know what, this is going to be the top level, the strategy game, I think, is going to be where it's going to be played the most. Whether you're going to be on top or whether you're not, it's going to be a fine line dice.
It's better when I'm not lip reading you at the moment, I will be honest, Jake. But yeah, it's absolutely cracking, to be fair, because I think the circuit brings you some seriously intense sort of racing. I'm expecting that. This season has been one where everyone's been so tightly compacted, and with a circuit where everyone, you're not really able to go side by side, some people are going to be willing to go over the limit. So I'm expecting that there will be some situations occurring, that's for certain. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the circuit's going to bring. We are expecting the full 32 laps, of course. It's a 26.5-second pit stop round here, so it's actually quite long because of the shortened speed limit as a result. But we are expecting medium hard, hard medium. The softs could come out, though, if there's a safety car.
Yeah, and those mediums have a surprisingly long amount of life to them. They could go a maximum of 24 laps, we're expecting here. So you could, at any given point, find yourself in. It's just 29 laps, but we're expecting, if they are in the safety car window, that the hards do have a lot of longevity. Those softs, really a small lifespan. If there's a safety car that comes out with 5 or 6 laps to go, that's probably the time you want to throw a soft tyre on. It's going to be a case of you're going to see yellow-walled mediums and white-walled hards pretty much for the majority of the race.
Yeah, that's the expectation. But as I said, with everyone being so tightly compacted in this on this grid, I'm expecting people may just decide to go for that shot that might just be a little bit too much. Maybe just go for the dive going into turn 1, going into maybe even into Villeneuve, God forbid, if people decide to go around there. That could bring a little bit of drama, might even bring the safety car, as I said, and that will immediately bring the soft tyres out.
And those soft tyres, of course, are really, really good. You can build a wonderful advantage in a lap or 2 laps, but they will hit that cliff very, very quickly. They are a qualifying tyre. This is how the field, though, will line up. NLR Tom and Rayan Black will be over there at the back of the field, with Manley there in 18th and NVR Chelsea, who will be lining up in 17th position. Not a good day then for those drivers at the back who weren't able to set a qualifying time. You've got Finn Bob there in 16th position for BRT, with Jeremy in 15th, and then you've got the 2 Project Aversio cars, Nassim in 14th on that 7th row, with Trisk in 13th position overall. On the 6th row of the grid then is TF10 Talas, who will be there in 12th with the Ferrari of Oviar Tamash, who will be looking to try and make things happen with the NLR Ryan car there, the McLaren, and then the second of the ET8 cars of Casper Flack, who will be looking to try and make a good drive forward. In 8th position on the grid is Cameron Dowds of Team Shazoo, with FRT Dan there, of course, for the Future Racing team. Then you've got Joe Murphy there in 6th position, the first of the Bunga Racing team cars, and then George Ansell in 5th position, getting it onto the 3rd row of the grid. Then you've got your front 4 out there overall, and a great qualifying by the Cedars Phoenix Ignators team, who lock out the 2nd row with Jorginho and Jeslar. But ET8 Paul was hoping to get his pole position. He's 6,000 short, which means Team Shazoo's Gabor Santos will put himself onto pole position and hope that he can stave off the rest of the field here at Imola. On this 2nd round of the championship, that's how they are going to stack up. And James, this is all about the run to Tamburello, turn 2, out on track. This is a narrow circuit by comparison to some of the more expansive circuits in the world. So it means you're only going to get 2 wide. If you're lucky, 3 wide. But really, this is a 2 wide circuit for the start.
Yeah, and even so, it can be quite precarious going too wide. Take an example of Valtteri Bottas and George Russell, actually, back in 2021, I believe it was, going into Imola, going through into Tamburello side by side, and then wham, they did. So it was not a particularly great situation for them. So we're expecting it to be pretty close, pretty tight. The question is who's going to be the brave soul that tries to reach out for the grand total of a good chunk of points that are needed. The 30 points for the win, 25 for second, 22 for third. They're going to have to be brave if they're going to fight for the top.
Well, at the top, that gap, which came into today at 4 points, is now already down to 3 points with Gabor Santos there. And we've got some overcast conditions as the lights are on, and 32 laps gets itself underway. Gabor Santos then with a decent start, but look out for Jeslar. He's had a pretty good launch as they now rush over to Tamburello for the first time. On that outside, there's not really much space for the Alpine to go. All 20 rushing through without too much of a trouble to start. George Ansell now looking to attack here towards the Villeneuve chicane. diving on through. We've got yellow flags out there in Sector 1 for Chelsea, who's fallen into troubles, but diving on through. It's a great start for Gabo Santos. He's got the lead he wants.
Oh, yeah, exactly what Gabo wanted to hold on to. Now, Paul is going to have to try his hardest here as Finnbob gets a 10-second penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place early on as well. That's going to be difficult to get rid of if he has to serve it in the pits as well, as BRT's race suddenly gets a little bit precarious and the championship leaders might be under a little bit of pressure so early on.
Well, that's a big hit there for Finnbob, and he's going to have to find a way to make those 10 seconds up and hope that all the drivers around him pick up similar amounts of penalty points for corner cutting, and those 3-second time penalties that we know time and time again continually add up. Look at the breaks of smoke going through at Ravazza as they try and stop down the hill on board with Cameron Dowds. +1 so far off of his start, and be very happy with that. He's on a set of the medium compound tyres as he will now look to make the move and try and gain that place. No changes through the front 6 then as they start, but that's going to be a case of Cameron Dowds remaining in that 7th position right now, and a lot of drivers there going out on mediums. One driver electing to start on soft.
Well done to Cameron's dad, who's brought up a very patient son who decides not to go for the move going into turn 1, chucking in his car behind the likes of Joe Murphy. George Ansell holding on to P5 and keeping an eye out on those Williams. Are they going to start to want to own the race, make some moves on Paul and maybe even Gabba?
Well, now here's the next question with a couple drivers going soft. So it's both of the Mercedes out there. So Project Aversio, believe, will go soft to start this race, and that will be a convert into a 2-stop strategy as Rayan Bakar then finds himself just having a few issues out there at the moment, so he's going to have to try and gather himself back up and jump back in. You can see here everyone trying to set purple lap times, but it's mediums through the front 9, only OVR Tomas and OVR. So again, it's a team strategy. Optimum Velocity electing for the hard tyres to start.
Yeah, so a little bit of a mixed bag. Optimum Velocity wanted to go on the alternate strategy. EVE want to go ultra aggressive at the start of this race, which is no surprise because, of course, they didn't qualify too well. Jeslar fastest lap, of course, beaten by Nassim on in the EVE in the soft tyre. Side by side, Gabba and ET8. Paul will go. Paul wanted to get the move done early on, and he's shown and flexed his muscle as he couldn't do in Austria. He now leads the race.
Yeah, that was an all-important pass there. Gabo Santos did very well to keep Jeslar behind because that could have easily have been 2 places gone. Little wiggle on the exit on the power there out of Villeneuve. It's never going to be too easy. And there is the Racing Bull of FRT Dan, which is starting to try and dance its way about there in that 9th position and hoping to move the Future Racing team up from 6th place in the championship. We'll need some help with Chelsea down the order by a long ways, by nearly 3 seconds at the moment, but dropping down through, now looking to attack back up the hill again out of Aqua Minerale and over towards the right-left of the Curva Grassini. They are very much in line at the moment, but Slipstream hasn't yet been broken anywhere in the field, and that's going to be important to keep in mind because everyone will have that extra overtaking aid, and we say aid in a drag reduction system because it's not there to guarantee passes.
Rayan managing to reconnect back into the session after a few technical hitches. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the PlayStation is not going to give him frame drops. Otherwise, his race will be very short and very sweet indeed. Going then down through into the next couple of corners. It's going to be pretty close. We think potentially Cameron Dowds is Cameron's dad going to be celebrating an overtake on this occasion. He will not. On this one, sticks behind. The BRT's Joe Murphy stays in 7th.
I will be interested to see if Nassim can start making moves or whether those tyres are now going to start dropping away then in the car in 10th position in line. And we'll go back to look at him here because he's not under any immense pressure right now. He's got the hard tyre runner in Tomas behind him there at Optimum Velocity, which is almost the best scenario that Nassim wants because it's a free kick for him to go out there and attack.
Oh, Rayan disconnecting again. I think that might be it here for the man, and TTM's race going from bad to worse, losing the driver, and the driver still stuck down in 15th at the moment behind Finnbob, of course, with that 10-second penalty. Paul leading from the front from Gabba, from Jeslar Gerino, and George Ansell rounding out the top 5. Joe Murphy actually under more pressure, we think, from Cameron Dowds, but going side by side a little bit early. One was Nassim versus Dan, who was doing quite well, but keep an eye out on Joe Murphy. Is he going to start making some inroads?
Well, he'll try and make some places, but this is, again, one of those tough circuits to go and make things happen. And you always look around and say, well, is there going to be any threat of rain in the air out there when you've got conditions which are like this? And you can see a lot of purple boards out there. And now here comes the racing. Oh, pass in the grass, pass in the grass. Jeslar's going for the race lead. Gabo Santos takes the lead, but nearly a pass in the grass for the race lead.
Wow, wow, wow. Brave soul he is, going onto the grass to get that move done. Very well taken, I will say, as ET8 Paul knocked down 1 but 2 positions. Gabbery taking the lead, keeping an eye on the Flying Scotsman, trying to get closer and closer at the moment, just in his own world in P7.
Well, he's in P7 and hoping to try and launch up further forward, but everyone's got the small advantage on everyone else, so no one's really got an advantage. This is a train, just 3 off the back, 17 on the front. NLR Tom is the back of the train, the caboose, so to speak, at this point. Up the hill again, lap 5 of 32, and we'd be expecting a pit stop window to open up, maybe if you're aggressive, in about 7 laps time for those drivers. Lap 12 would be the earliest you'd expect drivers in, but they might just decide to go 50-50, and ET8 Paul is not happy about staying there, as it's full retirement for Rayan Bakar. That's why you're going to see yellow flags in Sector 3, so he's going to pull that car away and say, we're done, we're not going to be getting anything more out of the top tier motorsports car. There's the 0 off the board. Now everybody else go score points.
Yeah, there we go. So everyone now going to be able to score points as predicted. Rayan struggling with frame drops, and that has just ended his race. TTM down to 1.
Down to 1, and that 1 is in 13th position, so Manley's been able to get a good start to this race and gain quite a few places out there. Nice and tight from Joe Murphy, and looking to the inside at Toza to get it done. George Ansell out there on the outside, trying to jostle for a tiny bit of room up to Piratella. This surely is going to be confirmed for the car on the inside there, and it is with contact. There goes George Ansell squirreling down the field, and he will not be best pleased at the tiny bit of contact. It was the finest moment of contact that's there as 2 time-second penalties come in.
Oh, no, we didn't see him there. I think it was the infamous words of us 1-1 Pablo Montoya. So, yeah, unfortunately for George Ansell, down to P18 now as a result of what seems to be the lightest of contacts. I just saw his car fly across the screen at the top of the hill. So that means now we'll be able to Joe Murphy up to 5th place, trying to chase down the likes of Gerino, who himself is trying to chase down ET8 Paul, who's still in P3. But that could change pretty quickly as we start the 7th lap of this race.
With the driver in P7, NLR Ryan trying to get a little bit of push. The team there, the McLaren team, in 9th place in the championship. They've really got to do something about it. There goes Jeslar, mistake, and down the order he now plummets to 6th position, just about avoiding any dramatic major contact there. But that was a big moment. It's a shame that we didn't catch that fully, but that is down the order 3 places immediately. Back on the attack, and the Duracell battery is lodged back in again and gives him that extra place. He remains in that 6th place. Now we'll have Cameron Dowse to look at.
Yeah, the Duracell buddy powering the Williams around this circuit at the moment, though, is he's trying to put more pressure here on Cameron Dowse. I think it was a little bit of a collision potentially from Gabber. It was 33 thousandths of a second as they were going into turn 1. So maybe just a slight touch up the bomb, and that has resulted in a bit of a half slap, tank slap around. Oh, the C is getting so aggressive. He's not happy with how he's been treated, and now he's treating everyone as he has been.
Well, I tell you what, he won't be happy with Team Shazoo. It's both drivers he's picked a fight with on this lap then, and down the hill into Ravazza. He will not be a happy bunny, so to speak, and he will be looking to try and energise himself, and into the pit comes Cameron Dowse on lap 8. That is so early.
Very early, very early. Is he trying to pull a bit of a blinder, get a little bit of clean air on a set of hard tyres and go to the end? The tyre degradation around this circuit is not particularly potent, so it won't surprise me if he's going onto a set of hard tyres, which he is exactly doing that, and he's going to go to the end of this race because he thinks it's not going to cost him too much time. If anything, he's going to net gain as a result of the undercut.
Well, he's going to undercut, but then he's going to have to try and hold the same way that Gabor tried to a week ago. So that's important. Jeslar now dealing with NLR Ryan behind him for position. Not going to be able to deal too much with what's in front because he's too busy looking in the mirrors. And that brings FRT Dan into play there in the Racing Bull, looking to try and move up the order and profiteer a little bit. So will there be a reaction is the next question to the very early pit stop call given there by Cameron Dowds, because if there is a reaction, as there's a little kick of oversteer from Joe Murphy as he looks to try and exit out there in the fourth place car at the moment, this is going to be about who can respond and who wants to, because they know they're going to be going at least 2/3 of the race on a set of hard tyres, and in comes the race leader, and he will bring a cavalcade behind him.
Yeah, could be a bit close here. Hopefully no one's going to end up going too quickly. It's across the pit lane speed limit. Looks like everyone got through cleanly, so everyone's going to be going over now to a set of hard tyres, trying to match that, of course, of Cameron Dowds. We'll see how quickly Cameron Dowds, of course, is managed to gain from the undercut. He did have a little bit of clean air, but we'll see the Haas go by. He's just coming through the final corner right now, so has this undercut worked? I beg to offer he might have just gained ever so slightly. We'll see, though, as he's now coming across there. There he is right there. Is he going to net gain? We'll see, as he's going to make the move across here, and he will make a net gain. He's going to go side by side with Joe Murphy, and Joe Murphy rightly decides not to battle too hard.
Well, because he's going to attack off the exit of Tamburello, and now they'll go side by side to Villeneuve. His tyre's not up to temperature here at the moment, so that's not much more you can do about that. Brilliant stuff there by Team Shazoo. Net 1 and 2 with ET8 Paul and co all there. Tomasz picking up 3 seconds of penalty, and now settle in for the long game.
Yeah, you made it call earlier, Jake. It's going to be all about that strategy call, and Team Shazoo absolutely nailed it with Cameron Dowds, and now they've got that net 1-2 back towards the front of the drivers who are yet to make their pit stops now. People now diving in. There goes the other EVE driver who's also in, but Casper Flash staying out a little bit further for ET8 alongside Paul, who's up in fourth, of course, who made that pit stop. What are they going to do with Casper Flash, I wonder? Are they going to try and get him past Tomasz? Is he going to try and maintain the gap? Or ET8 going to try and sacrifice Casper Flash maybe to benefit Paul?
Well, this is where you're going to start looking around at Casper Flash, and they are going to take an advantage if there is any form of safety car out there, but they cannot bank that, and they cannot guarantee it at the moment. So at least for the time being, your top three are happy at the moment, but they've all got penalties. You've got 3 more drivers yet to come in, and this is the leading group that they're all merging into. And you look around at where ET8 Paul is, he's merged out just behind Gabo, and Cameron Dowds has dropped a bucket load of places on the lap. What's happened?
Yeah, he must have made a mistake somewhere to lose that many positions. Of course, remember, Cameron Dowds was just tucked in behind Gabba, so he should have actually been following him. So clearly there was a mistake from the Flying Scotsman, and suddenly Team Shazoo's strategy is completely gone away. That's it.
Well, it's unravelled them at the moment, so Cameron Dowds is effectively back to square one, because that's about exactly where he started the race, give or take. So a bit more to be done. On with Jeslar at the moment in 11th position, looking at Joe Murphy there in 10th, and hoping for hoping to see every bit of position making that comes up in the future. New race leader then is Casper Flash, holds himself in that station, has just made that pass for the overall race lead, and it looks like we got drivers left and right hoping that they can get any advantage. Gabor at the front was unable to get as much of a release as he wants to. He's got ET8 Paul there. He's got Jorginho, who's wanted to try and put himself in play. But as they run on lap 11 of 32, down the front stretch, through turn 1 and to turn 2 of Tamburello, it's a case of, I don't need to make the move yet. We'll look at the end game.
Yeah, look at the end game. That's exactly the case of the drivers now, who don't want to put too much pressure on these hard tyres. They pitted quite early, actually. We were expecting perhaps lap 12 to 14. Some of the pads pitting as early as lap 9. So doesn't surprise me. In this one, the tyres will go the distance, but caught a few people off guard. They'll not want to burn out the tyres too quickly. Keep an eye on the medium tyre runners, because they're going to be pitting imminently.
Well, we saw that the soft tyres pretty much held up quite nicely there from Nassim and Triss. So they were able to keep themselves in play. Now, I wonder if these medium runners could go long on their mediums, if they can nurse the tyres quite nicely and find themselves in a position where they could potentially go to the softs. I would argue if they could get to 22, it would work, but it would take a lot of tyre save.
Yeah, take a lot of tyre save, but of course the hard tyre runners could go to the end of this race. If they catch them up, then really there's absolutely no point, because you're still going to fall about 26 seconds behind everyone else. So you're going to have to try and give yourself some kind of margin to hope that the soft tyres will give you the pace to catch up those 26 seconds that you're going to lose.
Well, that's what they're hoping for, and there is Joe Murphy hoping to move on up past Jorginho for position in the Williams, and he is hoping that with everything he's trying to navigate and deal with at the moment, that this is going to be a race where they can start responding. This is exactly what the Seeders Phoenix Igniters want to do. Get a big points haul here at Imola, and that will vault them up the order. They know what it takes to win a championship, so too do ET8. So I would say those two teams are the ones that are looking around going, well, we know what it takes to be up here, and we know what happens, and there's more penalties out there for NVR Chelsea, which means that it's going to go from bad to worse to downright ugly at the moment for them at the moment.
Yeah, FRT not really getting the best at the moment out of Chelsea. I think that's his third set of penalties at the moment now. If it's not 9, it's certainly at least 6 seconds worth of penalties for the FRT man. His teammate Dan, well off the pace down in 14th. He's in form at the moment, but the man finding not too much comfort out there in the close proximity of all cars around, whilst George Ansel and Finn Bob have finally pitted to get off of their medium tyres.
Yep, so they'll be looking now at what they do with their strategy, long holds and off and away again, but look at the gap. It's very, very telling how much time George Ansel loses out in the stop, so it's a long, long way to go, and Finn Bob, let's not forget, had that 10-second penalty for the corner cut and gain, which is probably why he's dropped out behind and will be looking to try and go again. Speaking of going again, Joe Murphy looking around at Gabor Santos for a place. Gabor deciding he is not going to let that go, as ET8 Paul and Jorginho have found themselves away through. Jorginho, now your net leader.
Yeah, keep an eye on Ryan as well as trying to put pressure then on Cameron Downs, but in electing not to put too much pressure, actually going through at the top of the hill, going through into Aqua Minerale now is where we see a lot of people trying to go for that daring look down the inside line, not necessarily to go for the overtake, but to perhaps put off a driver who might be thinking, oh, they're going to put me under a little bit more pressure than maybe I want here. Here comes NLR Ryan, who is wanting to put pressure on the racing bull in front of him of FRT Dan, but FRT Dan able to hold on to P11.
Well, I think that's Dan making the move there, and it's a very bold and brave one. Casper Flack is now down into the pit, which leaves the two hard runners there at OVR out there at the moment. You've got Jeremy 8 seconds back of Tomash, and there is Jorginho, the fastest lap bonus point on a 1:15.484. as things stands at the moment. So the chase very much on behind the Williams driver there for Seeders Phoenix Igniters. Gabor Santos there near the front. Joe Murphy then finding himself third, and Jeslar in fourth, with Cameron Dowds recovering now to what is net fifth at the moment on the road. This group is only a second back of NVR Chelsea. Now that could be a very important spanner in the works.
Yeah, here it comes now, the opportunity for FRT to tell Dan, right, it's hammer time. Start getting some moves done, because Chelsea, it's going to hold everyone back as much as we can. He's got so many penalties as well, as we've got plenty of people looking to continue on with those overtakes. I'm keeping a firm eye on Dan, because I think FRT will be telling him it's hammer time. Chelsea's going to hold everyone back.
Yeah, ET8 Paul now on top as he's made the move then on this lap. So we are definitely getting these drivers making moves and starting to work out what they can do as we head towards that halfway stage of the race. And it is an all-important section now of just trying to get through, dig down. Tomash, 3-second time penalty out of the race lead. Not what he wanted, especially in the meat and potatoes, as NVR Chelsea now will lose one. Will it be two? Yes, because through goes the Williams of Jorginho, who will immediately follow. And now this is where it's important for Gabor Santos to find the pass, because look at the difference between old and new tyre. Here comes the time loss, and now having to make the move heading to Villeneuve.
Yeah, he'll want to try and defend it, though, and that's exactly what Chelsea is doing here to try and help his teammate Dan. Dan will be told, seriously, get on with it. Around the outside, though, Gabba's going to look for it as they get into collision. I think there may have been debris on circuit as well. I don't know whose car that was. Was it the RB? I think it was. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, that will be it for someone who is going to really struggle with understeer.
Yeah, and that's going to be a long, long old race with an end plate off the side of the front wing of the car. And I think it is going to be NVR Chelsea, because look at that. Cameron Dowds immediately to the inside on the run up to the curve of Grassini. A second one goes, which is his teammate there, and FRT Dan flying through. And this is not the day that Chelsea was hoping for. Good news is it will be a point scoring day, but it might not be very much at the rate of knots that it's coming about. So just the two Ferraris to chase down now at the front. Paul with the lead, but look at what it's cost. Gabor Santos in the group behind, 1.7 seconds off the road. Wide goes Chelsea and into the pits.
Yeah, into the pits then. Those tyres are done for. He's done what he can to try and help Dan out. He's into the top 10 at least. Gabor Santos losing a couple of positions to people with the DRS. Joe Murphy trying to battle now with alongside of Jeslar. Sector 2, yellow flag waved as Tomas as off of the circuit. He's gone for a spin on his own accord on this particular race. So this is the last thing OVR need. Those medium tyres are starting to fall off and mistakes occurring as Nassim now gets up to, I think that's 9, maybe even 12 seconds worth of penalties now for the EVE man.
Yeah, they are certainly chalking up there for him in Project Averso. He's got a lot more to do. There is Talish in 14th position. It's been a quiet race for him so far. Hasn't really set the blue touch paper alight, so to speak, but we'll be hoping that by staying behind Nassim, he's effectively 13th. And when the two drivers go in and make the stops then over in the Ferraris, of course, at optimum velocity, that will be a jump up then for him to net 11th, and he'll take those points all day long. And Triss picks up 3 seconds as well, so it continues to get better for Talish. Watching with Jeslar at the moment, and the gap that has started to bellow out between Jorginho and ET8 Paul is big. So the likes there of Murphy is going to have to try and really chase that down. So Joe Murphy will look around. Jeslar will be very happy to just put a spanner in the works, because he knows that it's so much easier if you just got to fight one other driver like Jorginho's got to. If the likes of Jeslar brings the train back, then it's everyone that he's got to fight.
Yeah, they'll be trying to work with each other to try and get into the DRS train of the likes of Jorginho. Oh, that's a mistake from Jeslar on the curb. He's going to take advantage of the ghosted car now, will Joe Murphy, and get that move done to get himself back into P5. But the gap is now well above 1 second. Make it 2.
That's half a second's worth of time that they lost there with that one mistake from Jeslar, and that puts everybody else on notice. Exactly what Cedar's Phoenix Ignators want. They've put a car in second position to disrupt, and that's what it is. It's just disrupting the flow of everyone else, because Gabor Santos and Cameron Downs have to find a way past him in order to make sure that their work is going to go on through. So now, you know, you sit down, you look at a race like this, and you say, it's ET8 Paul and Jorginho's right now to lose. They're basically racing 1v1 for the race win.
Yeah, but remember, of course, now as Paul just enters into the DRS train of the OVR boys, of course, we're on the completely inverse strategy at the moment at the front in those Ferraris here. They're going to be working with each other now, Jorginho and Paul, to see what they're going to do alongside OVR. Are they going to be able to dismiss them quickly, or is Jerome going to be basically the roadblock for the likes of Jorginho and Paul, so Thomas can continue his distance? As Nassim definitely at least 12 seconds worth of penalties for him now. Jerome not doing a good effort to try and defend from this one. He's going to have to go around the outside, will Paul, if he wants to stay with it. Jorginho, oh, it's an absolutely class overtake around the outside at Tosa. Fantastic.
Pulls a blinder and needed to, because the gap was up at 0.6 of a second. The time lost there at the Villeneuve chicane, it was just enough for ET8 Paul to keep himself at level pegging, and just like that, Jerem, not much he can do. Now, this is important for Jeslar, because where he catches and gets within 1 second is going to be vital. If he can get DRS here on the Ferrari driver in front there at OVR, he's got a really good opportunity here, James, to bridge the gap. But at the moment, you're looking at it, what, 0.8 of a second, 1.2? I think he's just outside. He's going to catch him at just the wrong time.
Just the wrong time indeed. Well, 1.1, and he's going to lose all that time. Of course, remember, on the old hard tyre, that's going to go only another few more laps before they go over to the medium tyre. So Jerome is going to become a bit of a walking chicane, I think, for a lot of these drivers here. We'll have to see as it makes the move done. Then Paul on Jorginho. Paul now retaking the net lead of this race. Chelsea another 3 seconds for his troubles. Down the inside line, Joe Murphy will go against Gabor. Gabor has to go onto the sausage curb that allows Cameron Downs into the mix. Here comes F40's down as well. Here's the opportunity. Racing team of needing. Oh, not going to go for it on this occasion, though. The gap is just not there.
No, tried around the outside and it just didn't work, and Talish now picks up 3 seconds of penalties. Now 12th through 16th all have a form of penalty in some way, shape or form, as they now climb the rise and plateau at Piratella before dropping down here on lap 19 of 32. ET8 Paul and Jorginho clear by 1.5 over Jerem, who will need to stop and Jeslar, who will need to find a way through on this lap. And it is getting close here in the middle of this group right now with Dowds, with Gabor Santos, and now FRT Dan. Gabor Santos, by the way, your pole sitter, fallen back into 8th, net 6th at the moment, not what the Shazoo doctor ordered.
Yeah, 13 laps to go, 12 when they come across the line. Keeping an eye out then on Thomas. The gap now under 3 seconds, was 4 at the beginning of that particular lap. Paul and Gerino no doubt will be switching positions. They're working with each other as Jeslar makes easy move of Jerem, as does Joe Murphy. Cameron Dowds will be looking to get closer and closer, but I don't think he will on this occasion. So the Team Shazoo boys will be held behind the back marker as they will consider him.
Yeah, so this is a case of they are allowed to fight for position, but effectively on strategy it's not there, and you can see it here for Jerem against Cameron Dowds, who will now need to find a place to go and make this move, and he will not choose Tozer. He will choose to attack off for the exit. He's got a lot more drive. He'll use some of that energy deployment battery to pull himself forward and get that pass done, and at 9/10 of a second, oh, he needed it.
Yeah, well, good racecraft actually from the pair of them there. Jerem knew that he wanted to put him under too much pressure, but not too much at the end of the day. He's got his own race to manage, and this one as well. I'm not surprised he's going to put a little bit of pressure maybe on Gabba, but I don't think he's going to make it too much of a difficulty once he gets that move done. Sector 2 yellow flags wave. Someone's gone for a spin at Aqua Minerale, and guess who it is? Unfortunately, Tales.
Yeah, Talej going around will not be happy about that here on lap 20. That was a case of just trying a little too hard, and he'll drop the place and not be too pleased about it. But now here comes the next section of attacks then, and the train behind Dowds. There's 3 seconds for Joe Murphy, and that's not what he was wanting to hear as he makes the move on Jeslar, and ET8 Paul passes Gerino then for that place at 2 seconds back. He's now got to find an extra 3 on top of it, and he'd love to shake that group behind, and I'm not sure he's going to shake all of who he wants to.
Yeah, a bit silly of that actually to get that 3-second penalty, because I'm just looking at the replay now to see where he actually got that one, and if I'm working this one out right, I think he got that at turn 1, which means he ended up getting that penalty after crossing the line going towards the start-finishing line. So, yeah, a little bit of a clumsy mistake from Joe Murphy there. Might offer the opportunity for Jeslar, because that might just put Joe Murphy off his game.
Yes, but this is the important phase because they're stuck behind Tamash now for the race lead, and they're going to have to wait, surely, all the way to the DRS zone, and this is all-important time that's bleeding away. 1.6, 1.5, 1.3 it was for a moment. So now ET8 Paul, who has to wait and wait and wait because Tamash is on those old hard tyres and hasn't made a pit stop yet, is going to be keeping this group at bay. But there's no real emphasis then. In comes Tamash. He can't stay out any longer. Here goes Gerino sweeping around. No surprises then. He's going to go for the race lead. He'll take the race lead on top of that as well. And it's now 11 laps to try and figure out how to defend here at Imola.
Yeah, the Cedar Phoenix Igniters earning big time here now as it stands. They've got a double podium on the cards here and 52 points heading their way with that first and third. But Jeslar will be wanting one better and make sure his team take a solid 1-2 tonight.
A 1-2 would be huge. It would really profiteer them up the order. The two J's, Gerino and Jeslar, have had a wonderful showcase of driving here to start. Shazoo looking like they're going to be picking up some all-important points there, and I'm not sure it's going to be enough for the Bunga Racing team, who are currently 4th and 15th out there in the race, to really keep a hold of their championship lead, but it will keep themselves in the hunt, no doubt about it. ET8, the reigning champions, with Paul trying to go and keep himself in position. Someone who is building through the motions, was around, of course, at round 1, now here at round 2, looking to try and make a charge. Another 3 seconds for Nassim. What's changed? Down at Ravazza, and look out behind because they have caught, and suddenly the train is back together again.
Yeah, all back together again. Midfield watch. Keep an eye out on the likes of Thomas, who is absolutely flying now. Fresh set of tyres here, and of course on one step compounded, softer compound of tyre, rather, for the likes of Thomas and Jerem. That's going to offer opportunities for them to make some inroads whilst they get a move done already, actually, on Thomas against Finn Bob, who is now up to 15th, and he's climbing.
Dan takes 3 now from 7th position. That will drop him potentially down to 9th place when all penalties are considered, and the group now sits as a 9-car train. Look at this guy, Manley, on the back of this group. Remember, he couldn't set a time in qualifying, and now he's on the back of the top 10 and looking up at potentially picking up a sizable amount of points.
Yeah, big one that for TTM as well. Of course, remember, losing Rayan due to an issue there, or Gabba gets a 3-second time penalty. That's massive as well for Team Shizou. That's massive for TTM, though, because, of course, as I said, Rayan ended up getting that spotter problem. Turns out wasn't a issue with his with the frame dropping, but apparently it might have also been because he couldn't even get into his car when he disconnected. So big points here for TTM. Keep an eye out on Team Shizou now. That one mistake has fired them up a little bit, and they want to get that move done against Joe Murphy. Here they go.
Yeah, Joe Murphy had to be defensive coming out of the curve of Grassini. It has allowed the two Team Shizou Haas's to now go and make something happen of it here with what will be 9 laps of racing left. So they are starting to sit and think about what they want. Jorginho doing the donkey work, and what about turning defense to attack? And there goes Jeslar.
No. You can't go for a move that late into turn 1, unfortunately. And I think BRT may be at the wrath of the stewards after that particular incident there. It was going to be close. Fortunately, went straight across the sausage curbs, ended up speeding straight into the gravel trap. And Jeslar, once again, feeling like he's hard done by. He's now going to have to fight hard if he wants to get anywhere near that top 3 again. Team Shizou suddenly the beneficiaries.
They are. They certainly take the biggest advantage from that, with that massive drop from what was looking like it was going to be a Cedars day. It's looking a little bit the opposite. Down in 9th is still good points, but by no means a big chunk of points, because they were trying to claw back a gap in the opening rounds of 20 championship points. So that's going to be a very tall order to try and chase that back. So we'll see how that works. And Joe Murphy, I think, has just woken up. He said, I'm going to wait till the time is right. He's biding his time, and now's the moment he wants to attack. ET8 Paul knows that he's going to have to attack Jorginho here on this lap, move to the race lead, because this is overtake or be overtaken.
Yeah, here comes then Jeslar looking to get the move done, getting back up to P8 against Manley here, keeping an eye out on the battle towards the front. It's Joe Murphy trying to get close to ET8. Paul Jorginho holding on, though, for the Cedar Phoenix Ignators at the moment. I've been no surprises here if Team Shizou are told, hold station, don't battle too hard here. This is big points on the cards. As it stands so far, though, big beneficiaries for Ryan, Jeslar and Manley. I still think they'll earn plenty of positions because of all those time penalties for the likes of Dan, Gabba and Joe Murphy.
Yep, so those would be 3 seconds each for those 3, so that will drop them down. So Jeslar effectively net 5th at the moment, so you'd certainly take that with those drivers dropping. So still a lot of points on offer, but on track, it's a lot of work to try and go. And Joe Murphy struggles out of Aqua Minerale. That gives Cameron Dowse a chance to attack to the outside. Has to back out of it ever so slightly. And Joe Murphy holds on to his station. But ET8 Paul, who has been running roughshod near the front with Jorginho, those two have not wanted to relinquish those top 2 places. And I think they've played a very shrewd game at the front. They've let the group chase back up to allow them a bit more. But now's the time where they've got to try and think about where is the right time to strike. ET8 Paul in the most impossible position. Some would say Schrodinger's overtake, attack and defend at the same time. Here comes the move.
No, here he comes then. He's going to go down the inside line onto the grass there, potentially so late on the brakes. I don't know how anyone managed to stay within track limits there. That was so close. Cameron Dowse, I think, caught off guard by people going onto the grass there and managing to hold on for dear life. Joe Murphy still up to P2 with ET8's Paul in 3rd. But remember, that time penalty will send him down the order.
Apollo styrene confetti cannon on the outside of Tamburello, but still enough to see Joe Murphy up to 2nd, but ET8 Paul's not giving this up. He's getting very aggressive in the mirrors, knowing that they can't allow him to go out there and attack. Remember, he's got 3 seconds of penalty. They don't technically have to battle him hard here because they can let him win the race on track, but they know that he will not win the race by the time the penalties get applied. So this is a case of, do you want to just let Joe Murphy take the race lead and not worry about it? Spin at the back for Tales, who's now down at the very back in 19th position, but with now what is going to come up to 6 laps to go here at Imola, you start looking around and saying, what's my battle and what's worth it and what's not?
Yeah, 4T Dan not getting the best exit out of the final corner, though, so that's going to allow Gabba to pull the distance here and potentially make an overtake on Cameron Dowds here. We'll have to see, though, come back towards the front. ET8 Paul going to get closer and closer to Joe Murphy. Are they going to go side by side through to turn 1? Not the best camera angle because ET8 Paul's made a mistake and Team Shizou are now in 3rd and 4th as a result.
and there goes ET8 Paul spinning around, and it's a big drop of time for him. He'll be now behind his teammate, behind Nassim, and that is not what the reigning champions were hoping for. A bit of contact at Tamburello. We're seeing that the Masters are finite. A huge cross of the beams to try and get back at him, and tire tap off the exit. I think ET8 Paul is not a very happy man.
No, he's angry. You can tell the way he's driving, going for the aggressive move, chucking the car through the corners. He was a man on pole, for a podium rather. He's now behind his teammate Casper Flash on track, and now down to 10th. And Team Shizou going to be earning big points now with 3rd and 4th. Gabba, of course, with the time penalty, we'll see him fall ever so slightly. But Cameron Dowd's the Flying Scotsman now putting pressure on Joe Murphy. It might even be P2 after all of this for Team Shizou. Amazing.
Well, at the moment, they'd certainly take that with Cameron Dowds, but remember, Jeslar, who is out there at the moment, is net 3rd if things stay like this. So it will still be a double podium now for the Cedars Phoenix Ignators. They'll be very pleased about that. 5 laps to go, and now here comes the look for the race lead. Don't expect a big battle for this one then as they go through, as there goes Joe Murphy searching for the inside. It was just that, a search for the inside and nothing more. The 2 Haas's there of Shizou, 3rd and 4th. Gabor Santos has 1 roll and 1 roll only. Hold the group behind.
Yeah, hold the group behind Tallez. 3-second time penalty for him at the back of the grid. It's not going to matter in 19th place and 11.8 seconds behind. A little mistake from Gabba on that one as well, losing the rear ever so slightly. Maybe not finding comfort at the moment. Remember, Cameron Dowd is the one on the oldest of the hard tyres. He pitted first by considerable margin. So I believe they're 19-lap-old tyres now on those hard tyres. And Cameron Dowd so late on the brakes, ever so slightly getting close to the diffuser of BRT's Joe Murphy. He's looking so racy, Cameron Dowd. He was so racy last week, wasn't he, towards the end of this race, and he's looking racy again.
Remember that Cameron Dowds needed 1 more lap if he was going to win the race outright. He just didn't have it this time. He knows he's got to get by Joe Murphy, because that will give him any form of attack against Jorginho, who has been playing roughshod from the front of this field, and nobody has been able to get close enough to make the pass that they've wanted to. Keep ticking down the laps. Penalty now for Finbob. He'll get 3 seconds worth of it. Still, it's a group now of 8 at the front, and Casper Flash trying to hold on to the back of it in 9th place. So now as they run through Tamburello once again, you're starting to think about where do you want to place yourself, because Joe Murphy would love to win this one on track. Those drivers behind, like Dan, for example, need to pass on Gabor Santos, because every place is going to matter. It's the difference between 9th and 8th at the moment.
It's critical that you race with the drivers regardless of the time penalties, because they may try to get them rescinded if they feel like it was an unfair and ungiven an undue penalty. So you've just got to make sure that you continue racing with people on circuit. Talon's another 3-second time penalty for his troubles. Keep an eye out then on Joe Murphy going through Aqua Minerale, getting very close to the rear of Jorginho, who makes a mistake actually, going wide out of Aqua Minerale. That's going to offer an opportunity potentially for the likes of Jorginho, as we've got a battle in the midfield here, and allows Ryan going side by side here with Manley, the TTM man, looking to hold on if he can to P8, but 3 wide going through into the final couple of corners, and no surprise that Ryan's had enough of that one. Doesn't want to get involved anywhere near a 3 wide battle going through these tight corners here in Imola.
No one wants 3 wide at Imola, but I tell you what, Manley is not going to sit down and wait. Casper Flash, like the Flash, finds himself a way through, and now he will jump through. But look at what it's cost them here. The back of the train is what it's cost them. Why not 3 wide on the front now, as Ryan looks to try and push himself through. Back to 2 wide, and can't quite get the pass on Casper Flash, but look at what it cost them in terms of this race.
Yeah, Manley didn't want to have any battle in that one as well. They need the points at the moment. TTM are all the way on the right side of the table as regards to the standings, so they really could do with the points, especially with them being down to just the 1 driver. BRT's Joe Murphy going side by side with Jorginho, losing the rear ever so slightly. Cameron Dowds again still putting him under pressure. Cameron Dowds has been flying towards the end of the race. He seems to just find a second wind within his house, and he just needs to keep up that pressure, put Joe Murphy under pressure. It's going to be so critical though if he ends up making the mistake. There's a mistake. Here comes Cameron Dowds. The move's there. Here we go.
Gabor now to the inside, trying to find it. Big move for Cameron Dowd, who puts himself up there. NBR Chelsea with the fastest lap bonus point, and now it is pretty much game on with 2 and a bit laps to go, as Team Shizou now find themselves in position. Gabor Santos now will look to try and find a way to go and make his moves and passes, because this will be for their positions, and this is where the DRS comes into play at 0.6 of a second back. Don't expect to move on Jorginho Jorginho, who's out there like a candle in the wind at the moment. But will there be a late of late lunges down into turn one? He thought about it. It's not there. There's contacts. They go through. They all somehow hold. Cameron Dow's losing all the time he gained with the DRS. But here comes Gabor again, and he still can't find the angle.
Oh, it was so close, side by side. Definitely got a few people up on the sausage curb, and I think a few collisions occurred as a result of that one. I think the drivers are very lucky that they've been able to get away without anybody spinning, to be honest with you, as well. It was such a late call. This is lap 31 of 32, penultimate lap, by the way, folks. So this is all going to be so critical here. Cameron Dowd needs to get as close as he can to Jorginho and make sure that he makes that last lap actually count this time. Here he comes.
Let's try and see who's got what in terms of penalties. I expect it's just 3 seconds through third through sixth at the moment. So this is a really crucial run right now for Cameron Dowds.
Yeah, it's going to be so critical for Cameron Dowds to make sure that he stays in front of those in front, because he doesn't want to lose track time to the likes of Jorginho at the moment. Jesla, Ryan and Manley could be in for some big points here tonight after the penalties are applied, so keep an eye and see where they finish as we start the final lap of this race. Cameron Dowds, it's going to be critical, but I think Joe Murphy's closer.
Well, Joe Murphy's going to get the double slingshot here as the last lap starts. Cameron Dowd makes the move for the race lead. Jorginho, not much he can do. Here comes the lurk from Joe Murphy. Down the inside to second position as he gets the pass. Dowd now will run as fast as he can away as he goes through the Villeneuve chicane. Jorginho there, caught napping. He's been left out there again and again and again. And a slight missed apex from Dowd as he looks to gather it back up on the exit. It may just have to come down to who is going to be brave as they head through Piratella now over the top. Gabor Santos will be in full attack mode here on Jorginho, trying to make sure that he falls out of favour here in this one. Up the hill now with just half a lap to go. Joe Murphy wanting to win this one on track, but Jorginho still has a chance if those two tangle together. What a run by Joe Murphy. He takes there through the curve of Grassini. He'll have a look at Ravazza. It's a huge defence to the inside. Outside searching goes Joe Murphy, but you've got to do it again, Sunshine. He's pushed out. Has he got to drive off the exit? Huge wiggle. Here comes the look from Jorginho. Cameron Dowd will take the win for Shazoo. Jorginho classed as second. Double podium for Cedars. They're back.
They are back, Jeslar. Twice he will say he got took out, still finishes on the podium, but run as fast as you can. You can't catch him. He's the Flying Scotsman.
Cameron Dowds, after being a lap short 1 week ago, will right the wrong and say he is on top. An important day for Shazoo, who find themselves 1 and 8, and looking around at the teams, for example, like the Bunga Racing team, 7th and 15th. They will definitely move into the race championship lead with the eyes on the horizon 1 week from today. An all-important race there, and it was one about patience. You just could not sit and wait, and it was a case of who revealed their hand last. It was Cameron Dowds.
47 points in the end then for the Cedar Phoenix Ignators, who will take a good chunk that the points that they missed out potentially in Austria. Cameron Dowds, no surprises, getting the driver of the day for a fabulous performance from the Flying Scotsman. But a big shout out to Manley, by the way, the TTM man, managing to finish P5 in the end, kept his race clean, and 18 points for TTM with only the one driver from that race. Fantastic.
It's a huge points haul when you consider it right now for top tier. They'll take those 18. Okay, in the context of where they are, 8th in the championship, of course, 18 points. It's more than what they scored last time out, but they will certainly have a big smile knowing that that is a race-saving drive, a championship-saving drive for them as they look to continue on with their season. So all around, you would say that was a strong race from certain teams, and other teams I don't think stepped up to the plate here today. But as we get confirmation coming through and over towards us on your screen, it was a big result for Cedars and as well for Shazoo, who should move into the championship lead with the bold decision of not switching their drivers around from week 1 to week 2. And James, that just goes down as I would say, the biggest galaxy brain strategy we've seen. It's worked.
Yeah, it worked an absolute treat from Cameron Dowds then to take the top step of that podium, going for that early pit stop, and then it was a critical mistake from him that actually put him under pressure to still perform, and he still managed to come out on top. What a race from Cameron Dowds, and that, I think, is what he deserves after Austria, doesn't he? He was so close to taking the race victory. He was effectively pushing the eventual race winner in Owen around that final corner. In the end, he said, my time today, and he wins.
He certainly does, but you've also got to remember here that this was a day that ETA could have made huge leaps and bounds with, and they got caught on the wrong side of Lady Luck today. It's not been the most auspicious title defense start that we've seen, but they're certainly proving they've got drivers who can challenge up at the very, very top of the field.
Yeah, Joe Murphy's always been able to show his pace, actually, across the majority of the esports sphere. The issue is that BRT at the moment are in this sort of rocky form at the moment. The foundations that they're currently laid out at the beginning of this season are just starting to crumble a little bit, and unfortunately, the gap between driver 1 and driver 2 for BRT is so vast that it's actually going to make their title defense a little bit more challenging. So they have to really work hard if they want to try and win that title this season. At the moment, though, it's about celebrating the performance again of that Flying Scotsman, Cameron Dowds. And what is it with him and the final 5 laps of the races so far? He is impeccable in the final 5 laps. Brilliant.
Well, we'll have to start calling him Showtime, because it looks like in the final 5 laps, he decides that he wants to be a superstar, and there's not much that people can do about it. They will, though, be looking at 1 week's time, and it is back to the high-speed thrill ride as we head to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, a circuit which, you look at it on paper, they will never build a circuit like this anymore. It is a treasure of racing gone by, and it's one of those tracks where, once again, it's about positioning and it's about placement.
A track deemed too fast by today's standards. You would not see this be built at all, but low down force, the car's low down to the ground, too quick onto the curb, and you will see your car bottom out on a corner. You don't want that one. So this is where we're going to see people at that absolute limit, 200 plus miles an hour going into turn 1. Spicy. Looking forward to that.
I certainly am as well, and you can catch it, of course, next week with us here at Velocity Esports Racing. This has been your Gaming Malta Ultimate Masters, brought to you in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercom, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and with JCat. From James Otter and myself, Jake Sperry, it's a case of looking for who can stand and deliver. Sometimes everyone wants to make a change, and that change will be huge between now and the end of this season. But when the lights are on, it's showtime, and Showtime Cameron Dowds is at it here again. Second in the opener. First here today, he will look at the Temple of Speed and say it is absolutely magnificent. We'll see you in 1 week. Pay your tithings. We'll see you at the Temple of Speed.